My goodness. And apparently we had some issues with the sound. All right. Old 11, triple Fenrir on a triple kill. Apparently that's what Oracle does.
Were we muted this entire time?
I hope not.
Man, I felt like we were having such a nice cast.
We were. It's just, you know, we're going to continue to have
Yes.
a nice cast.
They were just like, okay, stick and move. We just, we're like iG.V. We just pivot.
That's right.
We just roll with it. All right,
Oh
Fran's
my
gonna get
God.
gone on mid.
That was pretty solid right there. They pop on out Spirit Siphon. Does look like they're, at least for the moment, not going to be able to find anything off the back of it.
Yeah, they're gonna get this mid tower at the very least, and this mid tower is pretty huge. Being able to grab it early on is fairly massive. A lot of times teams are just gonna hard commit everyone for that, but iG.V realize they're just not in the position. That mid tower, by the way, is almost always going to be the most important objective in the early game. You notice I can't remember the game that I just casted, but they were willing to run away from 170 HP mid tower because they knew the enemy team would commit 5 to defending it. But that shows you how bad of a position iG.V are in right now, that they can't even defend that one because they're like, well, I guess we have to wait for our Batrider to farm, and they have to wait for their Sven to eventually get a Helm of Dom so he can stack for himself because people are physically doing it for him right now. And the problem is, Lyrical, what are you supposed to do? It's like you get your Batrider blink. Okay, Oracle already has his ultimate online, so now you've got that hard countered as long as he's sitting behind people.
It doesn't really feel like there's a great catch-all answer at this stage. You've got, you know, so many issues that come up, and maybe just trying to fight when Ravage is down or something. But even then, are they capable of being able to find an engagement? Juggernaut is going to be going back for this Battle Fury at this stage in the game. Do you feel like this is the correct call? Like, would it be more worth it to try and go into a more fighty type of build, or is this just sort of going to ensure that late game strength that he's going to have?
I think going for the Battle Fury is fine, just because you want to be able to catch up to the Sven's farm if he decides to power farm, and obviously Jug can't really keep up when he doesn't have that. And you see the sad state of is he's just going to TV back, still just about to complete the Helm of Dom, so he's in a better position than he once was, and they're still starting to get a lot of farm. It's just the biggest issue is the supports. If you look at positions 4 through 5, you notice that iG.V, they're dirt poor right now. Like, combined net worth is less than Oracle's.
Oh no. Well, and that's the thing that I'm kind of wondering about as well, is like, as this game ends up going on, you need these heroes to be able to be that initiation. I always feel like Venge level 1 swap, which by the way don't have yet at 11 minutes, and just is able to pick it up right now, is just so ineffectual. So this smoke play right here, is this going to be to go and try and secure themselves a Roshan?
I think they have to take a fight.
Okay.
Before they go for any major objectives. Maybe they can go for Roshan with their Venge negative aura and their DP ult, but this has to be done. Like, they can't really afford not to allow this to happen.
I think Wind Ranger is pinging that out. I'm not exactly sure though, but
I think it's worth it for him to power shot.
oh
Okay.
God, dog
All right,
fights
that's life.
is so low. He needs to run away from Roche.
What kind of name is that?
I don't know. I don't want to get into the eccentricities of that, but yeah, I agree. This was a little bit of a struggle. Oh, and now you don't have Exorcism. When it rains, it pours.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's a really big desperation play. The fact that you're not even going to smoke, you're going to smoke to go for a really risky Roshan that has such a high potential to fail, and now they had to commit the DP ulti. At this point, EHOME were like, this is fantastic. They wasted DP ulti, they weren't able to get Roshan, let's just run at them. Like, Old 11 is just going to dive tier 2 towers, I'm sure, he doesn't even care.
Yeah, they're in a great spot. And
they're going to steal the stack.
Oh no, Ice. He's going to be able to... I mean, they don't even realize that this is going on right now, I don't think. Do they have wards in the area? They have some, and now they spot Lanham. Might have spotted another, but I don't think there's anything they can do to stop it, really. In July's going to walk over. He's got Firefly up. Could end up trying to go for some type of flame break play, but honestly, it's just such a terrible position that they go into. They're going to pull back now onto Old 11, but they get the Oracle ulti off, and he's perfectly fine. They're just going to walk away from this one, and the whole stack is pretty much gone.
Yeah, there's a lot of dreams in there that just went away.
Oh, no.
They still have the blink too on Ice. They've got to be careful. Like, this is not a fight that iG.V want to take. And you saw the problem right there with how strong Oracle is against the Batrider. Like, yeah, This hero might not have the highest win rate, but when it comes against those heroes, the Batriders and the Darkseers of the world, what are you supposed to do? You've got this all-important Blink Dagger that adds almost nothing to your lineup at this point. Now EHOME have, like, these guys are Dream Destroyers. They first take your stack, they stop your Roshan. There's not a whole lot that IG can do aside from just decide to go for the split push, but even that they don't do very quickly.
Well, and like you see over here, Dogfight, he's just trying to stop whatever he possibly can. The tier 1 is going to go down. For EHOME right now, what's your next objective? Do you feel like you need to try and go for the other tier 2 towers and maybe try and secure the Roshan later on? Or, oh god, Old 11 thinking about going in. No Aegis, no problem. He ends up backing out though. As
only Old 11 would just like stand for 600 HP. No Oracle ulti. The best thing is that Ice has his back, but it's just funny. He plays differently than any other core that I know. He just runs in, doesn't really care. You remember at top where you're like, yeah, he's gonna back. I'm like, no, he's gonna look for this.
That was pretty awesome. Well, 8-2 is the current score, and we've seen a pretty casual 10,000 net worth lead. There's not a whole lot that's stopping them. For iG.V, what's the way back into this game? We saw them go for Roche. Can they fight their way out of this at this stage?
Okay, I mean, there's a few ways back into this game. I'm trying to say that with a straight face right now, but it's hard. Like, iG.V, they've got so much to contend with. Yeah, your Batrider ult, which is your main control point, gets almost immediately countered. Your DP does not have the amount of farm necessary to be able to sustain. They've got so many different ways to deal with her. They've got Doom, which is hard to deal with when you're ahead, much less when you're behind. And they're going to get ran at right now is...
Oh, yeah, there we go. That's the shackle on to Super. I mean, you're going to be able to get in July out of here, but at this stage in the game, like, you can't just be losing kills like that. They are going to be able to jump forward here. Oh, God, have they actually been able to catch on to Yuno? They're going to be going after him. Ravage does end up being able to connect right on the very edge of it. Shackle, every form of control possible. And that they just lost their Sven again. That's died twice, but
even in some ways, that's kind of worth. They forced the Tidehunter Ravage. I wish I was kidding at this point, but you take what you can get. iG.V, it's now kind of their time to do something about it. They know that there's no Tide Ravage. The problem is there's still an Oracle Ultimate. There's still an Omni Slash. There's still a Doom event. There's so many different ways for EHOME to set up on the fights. And iG.V, there's not a whole lot that they can do except kind of wait for EHOME to try to go high ground and make a mistake.
All right, so here's what we got to do. We're going to try and figure out what is the best possible team fight that we could see from iG.V. Like, who's the first target and what's the spell on him?
Okay, so you silence all 5 heroes as they walk up the cliff. Then you flame break magnetize 5 of them by Roshan. 2 of them get knocked up into the high ground with no Force Staffs available. Then iG.V ignore the Tide, who misses his Ravage completely.
Okay.
Then the Doom pulls a me, and Doom's a creep. And even then, there might be somewhat kind of close.
I like the optimism though. It's going to be good. We're going to get there. They're going to be looking for a little something. This could be the moment right now. They jump onto Old 11, going to be able to get the magic missile off. A ton of damage coming through, and they find the kill. All right, it's one step at a time.
Nice. That's really good pickoff. I was mainly kidding, obviously, but the road is hard for iG.V, and little kills like that are definitely going to help more than anything, just your mentality. Like getting back into this game and saying to yourself, guys, we're doing it. We're picking off heroes here and there. This is going to be pretty good for us. And, you know, they haven't been able to get kills in a while, so for them to get anything at that point. And they pick up a mid-tier 1 tower. As long as they get out. If they get out right now, I will say that is a huge win for them. Great stuff. But they absolutely have to run.
In July, doomed up for the moment. Old Chicken controlled though, so they do find one. The Exorcism is still going here. Ice is dropping fairly low, and now they're being able to get the Magnetize off. Fenrir is not going to be able to save them all for the moment. He does get the false promise onto Ice, and now it looks like they're going to back out. They did lose the Batrider, but the Rolling Boulder away means that Dog's Fight is not going to end up dropping here. Possibly, can he actually get away? He's getting the heal from there and trying to kill Ice. He's just far too tanky. They jump forward, the blink onto Dogfight, still walking away, and it looks like, at least for now, they might be able to get out. They used the Omni too.
Almost blew the Ravage too at the last second. You saw Ice trying to cancel the TP, but that was fantastic by iG.V. Yeah, they lost their Bat Rider, but they got an all-important Wind Ranger kill. If the DP got a healthy chunk of change there from being able to take the tower too. She has duels. They're in 10 times better of a position than they were 10 seconds ago. They didn't get the Tidehunter ultimate committed, but they did get Lanem to waste his Doom. So
Okay.
there's a timing window where they can actually farm safely.
They don't have Omni either. That's down for another 90 as well. So the thing that really to me also is like I'm starting to look at this lineup, and they have decent high ground defense. They've got team fight potential if they can start to get a little bit of farm.
Yeah.
What's the next item to sort of put them over the edge a little bit?
I think Sven, it's just everything is on Sven right now. He has to get his BKB, he has to get his Blink Dagger at some point just so that he can gap close. But for EHOME, we've mainly been talking about how IG has to get back into this game, but EHOME have to be a lot less sloppy than that. Like, they approached that fight really weird. They had the Wind Ranger run in first onto the DP solo, who got a silence off. They had nobody near to protect her. The Oracle wasn't in position to be able to help out. They need to consolidate their strength in these fights. Like, there's still potential for them to lose, especially if they kind of get sloppy, right?
Well,
Like
and,
they
I guess the other thing there with EHOME too that I'm starting to think about is like you've got that fight that got taken without the Juggernaut, and then they ended up trying to run in and force something there as well. So probably still feeling pretty good, I'd imagine, on EHOME. Would you say so?
Yeah, they're still in a comfortable position, don't get me wrong. It's just that at one point it looked like it was unassailable, and now things look a little bit dangerous. And the reason why I thought it was unassailable was because of the team fight that EHOME has. It's so hard for IG to fight into that lineup. You've got Doom to contend with, you've got the Juggle. There's just so many major abilities that are game-changing for EHOME, whereas for iG.Vitality, what do you have really that works in your favor? Your Magnetize is going to largely get cancelled out by the mech. Your Bat Rider ultimate we've seen time and time again. So really what it comes down to is this DP's ultimate damage.
Well, that's going to hope to carry them through this right now. It is all the way up to level 2 at this point, in level 12 herself. Yule Scepter online, which we talked about, and it's looking to maybe build into that BKB, I would assume, which feels like it could be pretty strong in these fights. Just every little bit of the magical damage coming out, and also the disable. As far as like the next big engagement that we're going to end up seeing, is it about the Roshan at this point? Like we saw the DP being able to go in with the Exorcism. Can they try and do that again, or do they need to win a fight?
I think you kind of have to win a fight first, but taking a fight by Roshan Pit with Bat Rider is never a bad idea, just because you have options of putting people on cliffs, a lucky flame break to turn a fight. But just walking into it against a Tidehunter and a Doom seems kind of unnecessarily dangerous. The cool thing though is that once he gets that BKB, he's going to be really strong. He pops his ultimate in his BKB, what is going to deal damage to him? The Jug ulti? There's no physical damage on the side of EHOME.
Oh, they jump on in. BKB pop for Yuno, so quick on the spot, but does end up using that defensively.
Yeah. BKBs are huge though for iG.V, especially because EHOME have committed so much to the initiation game. Like you see the Wind Ranger has no ags, no damage item, just the casual Blink Dagger. The Doom in a similar position with just his Blink.
Well, and I'm kind of wondering now, do you think that the Wind Ranger ends up going back for Aghanim Scepter at this point, or do you try and build into one of those damage items, sort of like the Maelstrom or one of those other ones there?
I think Maelstrom is too late. I think Ags is better.
Okay.
EHOME are going to take this fight because they know that iG.V, they don't have their BKB on their Sun, which is huge for them. They might even do a little bit more with it too, because they know it's still on cooldown for 30 seconds.
Well, here we go. We do have the Crypt Storm coming out, trying to do whatever wave clear they possibly can, but Old 11 is not going to be denied, and it looks like for the moment they're going to be content with just pushing out this top lane with Yuno, not wanting to get too frisky. One thing I will mention about iG.V in all of the games that they've played today, they have looked bad in the laning stage and then have been able to come back through like really good decision making in the mid to late games. So there's some precedence for them to be able to come back into this, and we've seen some of those solid moves around the map. As far as a late game situation goes, is there any side that's heavily favored, or do you think it's fairly just dependent upon who ends up getting the better initiation?
I think a lot of it will depend on the Tidehunter's initiation and who Lanem can doom. And right now you see the smoke. as they're going to get Ice, and this would be a pretty big kill for them if they can pop it before Ravage.
Oh, Ravage does end up going out, though, and now they get the Doom onto Yuno. He's going to be controlled for the moment, as well as the Omni Slash onto Fran. Now they lost so much of their damage. Dogfights is going to get ran down by the Blade Fury, and Yuno is still over there doomed. Meanwhile, on the bottom side, just trying to create as much space as possible. Super ends up getting taken out there in the end by the Oracle, looking for a little bit more. Turning on to Lanham. They're getting several crits onto him. He's taking a ton, but not quite. Oh, they got him, and now the BKB and the TP away. Ugh, God, that still hurts so bad, though.
Yeah, just because they weren't able to instantly pop the Tide, and the Kraken Shell was almost always going to allow him to go for the Ravage. The fight looked okay for iG.V, but again, there's just so much to contend with on the side of iG.V. Like, as soon as the Jug got his ultimate off onto that DP, things became real hectic real fast. Like, the Death Prophet needed to be able to use himself, but instead got instantly blown up by that Jug ulti. Now Old Chicken almost already has the Aghanim Scepter after that one fight. The Jug picks up a good amount of farm. This is going to be the Aegis. That's already 2 BKB charges down the drain. And the thing about BKB Sven is, when you get this item on Sven, this is the fight winner. You're like, oh, I have a 10-second BKB. This is when I'm going to be able to deal the most damage in the game. Things don't get much better for you after that.
Scan is dropped. They realize that this is going on right now, and unfortunately, still 20 seconds before that fight winner is going to be online, and they're not going to be able to take it.
Yeah. Once you start to see that 5-second BKB, though, on Yuno, that's where things get really scary for iG.V.
That's when you know it's going to be trouble.
Ah.
Well, again, terrible puns come out.
I love bad puns, but even that one was that was low-hanging fruit.
It was. It's so good, though. Guardian Greaves up on Ice, gives them a decent chunk of armor. He's got Blink Dagger, too. He's a very farmed guy. And I'm starting to wonder if the Batrider, I mean, he's always going to do Batrider things, but is he still going to be that same force that they were having in the early game, where he could sort of always cause the trouble of being able to initiate strongly on?
I mean, the fight right there was a good example of when the Batrider can be effective, because the Oracle took a little bit too long to get to his Tidehunter buddy. But as soon as he did, that's when things became rough. And I don't know. You kind of have to use him more as a damage dealer now, which is odd, because typically you want to be able to use him as your main initiator. He's just not reliable in a game like this.
They do spot out bad. 11. Fearless as always and looking for a fight.
He don't care, man. He just sees fire on the ground. He's like, that's my path to freedom.
He's got the Aegis. It's weighing him down. He wants to take somebody out with him, too.
Yeah, this must be like the worst game for Old 11. When he has an Aegis, he's just like, come on, guys. This isn't a real rush.
All right, well, they toss out one stun. Blade Fury threw it, and he was thinking about going on in there. At least for the moment, they're not going to opt to go for it. Ravage is available for a counter initiation. The rest of this team is hiding out behind him.
That was weird. Ice was still pushing out bottom. I guess they wanted to force out the lanes, but it looked like for a second that they weren't on the same page with that move. And it looks like they're going to at least... They thought about smoking.
Oh, they're all grouped up. They've already used their scan on the Radiant side, and Dire don't have one for a little bit.
Yeah.
As far as initiation and who wins this fight right here, what's it really dependent upon? Is it still always that Ravage, or...?
It's the Ravage and who gets doomed.
Okay.
If Fran can get his abilities off and his BKB, it's specific, because he has to have the Yules for the Juggernaut ultimate, because if he uses it before that, it's really easy for him to get bursted down. Like, if he BKBs, then Old 11 ults him, you can't Yules yourself, so you just die. So he needs to be able to hit this specific timing where he doesn't get doomed, but he also has to get the Yules off. It's kind of difficult for Fran. He's in an awkward spot.
I'm also seeing right now that Jug just hit level 16, so the level 3 ulting causing all the much more chaos in this draft. Sven goes back for the Sanj and Yasha. We got around 3,800 gold on the Jug. Is there anything in particular that he wants to go for at this stage in the game, or something that you feel like might make the difference? Sometimes you see Blink.
Blink's pretty good here, just to be able to get on top of heroes. Diffusal Blade would be really... I guess they don't really need it too much. You could purge off a lot of these things, but maybe even the Warcry.
Well,
Butterfly, fighting options.
okay. They got scanned here in the mid lane, and if they didn't know before, they certainly know that he's there now. What's this, so in this little lull here, you've got the Aegis up on Juggernaut. what's the sort of the sign where you end up going for it? Is it trying to bait out that BKB for Sven, or do you feel like they're just comfortable going on in?
I think if you're EHOME, you're just gonna spread out, farm the map, farm the jungle, farm the lane creeps as they come to you, and you can play this pretty comfortably slowly.
Okay.
Because you're starving out IG.
No. I love the blade mail pickup on Doom here as well. Like, it's something that we've been seeing more often, but particularly in the AoE type of spells, you think about Sven as well and the cleave that comes through. Sure, he's pretty tanky, but if he's dealing that much extra damage out onto the Doom, even if it's just through cleave, he's going to be taking that as well, and it could cause a decent chunk of problems. It's kind of a weird game, though. You know, it started off all fighty, and now they're starting to try and sit back, secure their lead. It really speaks to how important this game is for both teams.
Yeah. The pace of the game at first was just frenetic. That's usually what happens in new home games, because they just run at you, but I think after that one misstep where iG.V came out the winners in that one fight, I think EHOME said, wait, guys, we're getting way too aggressive. And I think that they were being really uncoordinated with their abilities.
Oh, Lanham stunned, getting copped a couple times now, and is disarmed. They end up being able to get the ultimate off, but the Ravage turnaround is going to be there. They actually don't have a ton of follow-up, though. They might have overstepped their bounds slightly. They're going to pull back in. Old Chicken already dead. Ice is going to go down. This is a catastrophe right now. Fenrir is going to get ran down as well. What happened, EHOME? Oh my god, Fenrir gets lifted up the Yules, and now you end up seeing the Exorcism come out. 4 go down, Gem on the ground. You got Scotty on Jug, but everything just went terribly right there.
They needed their Jug to be able to kill that Doom, or to kill the Doom target. Like, they need their Jug to kill the Sven. They can't really do it when he's got his BKB going. The Wind Ranger was out of position. EHOME just took that fight really weird. Like, they got a really nice Ravage, but 0 follow-up. They got the Doom off on the Sven. That's pretty much an ideal fight. But then they all-in committed to try to save their Doom. Then the Bat Rider had a free initiation. And I actually think in that scenario, you just let your Doom die. Yeah. You just risk it. But the bigger thing was the Wind Ranger and the Jug's positioning. Like, the Jug was in no position to help his team. He is by far the biggest damage dealer, especially with these BKBs online. And iG.V just got kind of a free bone thrown at them. There was a 10k net worth lead for EHOME. Things were looking great. All you have to do is set up the fight with the Jug ultimate. They had a 3-man Ravage, and they still got dominated in the fight.
Yeah, this is starting to feel more and more ominous if you're an EHOME fan right here. I mean, iG.V, I was talking about it early, they make some pretty good decisions, but more often than not, if you fall behind, it's coming off the back of, capitalizing on problems. I've been really impressed so far with their play, and it just, I don't know, how do you recover from this at this point? Do you need to try and sort of reevaluate the way that you're playing, or focus more on trying to take some more objectives and pushing high ground?
For iG.V, the biggest thing is that they just have to be more cerebral. For iG.V, they play the way that you're playing.
Okay.
Abuse the fact that when the Oracle ultimate's wasted, then the Bat Rider has the ability to jump in. But for EHOME, the biggest thing is they just kind of had to group up together and move as a team. That's every single time they've been together as 5, things have been great for them. And at some point, that has to click for them. They have to tell themselves, like, man, guys, the fights are awesome when we're together, but when we're apart, they just do not look as good. A lot of the BKB charges now have been wasted. Now you've got a 9-second BKB on the DP7 to go with the Sven, but at some point, maybe even if the Sven gets an AC, he's going to be in an alright position to be able to tank out a lot of the Jug ultimate and a lot of the Jug's right clicks. So for EHOME, they need to still kind of play around this timing where their Juggernaut is really strong. There's not a whole lot that iG can do to kill him.
I'm so concerned right now, and it's sort of, again, they're going to end up being able to spot out here on the high ground. Old 11 is there. Oracle is also going to be there, though. Is it worth jumping on Fenrir, the Oracle, and trying to catch him with the lasso?
I think it's not a bad idea, but what worked really well for iG.V in the previous fights was they let their Sven jump forward, tank a lot of the damage, then they forced out the Oracle ultimate inefficiently, then they were able to take the fight. But if you just kind of blindly rush in with the Bat Rider, this is a different game for him entirely. Like, you can't just go in like Bat Riders normally do pick up a hero because of the Oracle.
Okay. Well, they do spot on down one of these wards is very far forward, but they don't opt to go for the jump. Instead, they're going to play it a little bit more passively, wait for somebody to move further out, but iG.V all over it. They're playing incredibly contained Dota, and I kind of wonder if it's not really easy to punish this at this stage. I mean, he's got the AC recipe, and you can kind of just keep on getting passive gold, I guess, and farming the creeps that come through the lanes.
Yeah, this is going to be hard for uh, iGV. They just continue to play a little bit passively, let their Sven continue to get farmed. He's got a lot of levels on him too. He's even more level than the Jug is. EHOME, they're desperate. They're like, look for any fight that they can, and they might actually just get their wish here. Old 11 has to get a good ulti off.
They got a really good Ravage right there. That's a lot of damage coming through. Fran is starting to drop very low. Is it going to be enough? They got so much control, but it's still very tanky, and he is going to end up taking that whole Omni Slash ulti. He doesn't be able to get a ton, but I think that he is going to end up falling at the end. Ice is too freaking strong. Fan is here with the Exorcism. The right clicks are down. The minus armor is there. 4 are already dead. I mean, I was concerned for a second that old 11 was going to drop, but just had too much heals, and man, that was what they needed.
They grouped up.
They did it.
They just literally won S5.
Captain Blitz on the job.
I mean, I think EHOME, honestly, obviously, all of them are just more talented than either of us combined, but
yeah.
The issue is that they were just getting sloppy. I think they knew the lead that they had. They're good enough players where they're like, we are so far ahead. And IG are wasting so many of their BKBs and stuff. They've got no way to initiate with the Batrider. Time and time again, you see he just gets purged off in these big fights. But EHOME they were giving iG.V unnecessary opportunities, I think. Like they kept allowing them to take these advantageous fights where they weren't able to either get their Ravage off or they weren't able to get their Jug in position. And when that happens, yeah, iG.V are going to get right back into the game when it's 4v5 discombobulated Dota.
So here's my question to you then. In the context of this group stage, every game matters so much. Is this something that you need to be worried about for EHOME? The sort of letting teams get back into it? Are they going to see that being punished later, as they actually might have a bit of initiation? They already have the
just taunt.
Oh god, they're going to end up going for it. Super's dropping pretty low. They pull him on back there, sick of his backstrokes, and it looks like they might be able to bring him down. He does end up getting off the Guardian Greaves. He's too tanky. They jump onto dogfights. A couple more right clicks and the power shot go through, and they find that one. Old 11 on point with his Blade Furies. Old Lanham's on the other side. He has Doom in 10 seconds. He already throws out the Infernal Blade onto Super. Does end up being able to get the Shackle, but it doesn't latch onto Injuly. Still a lot of damage going his way. Silence, and the Manta dodge from it. It does look now they're going to go on to He does not have Omni. Actually, he does have Omni. Can they find this kill? He's doomed up as well. On the high ground, the Shackle is going to connect, and now over on the other side, Old 11 just beating through Super. Everybody is dying, and iG.V unfortunately feel like they might not have gotten everything that they needed.
Yeah, EHOME are going to walk away with this clean, as whenever they took 5-man fights, they didn't even need to use the Oracle ultimate or the Jug ulti to win that fight, nor did they need to use the Ravage. All that really took was some focus fires, Lanham getting his Doom off onto the Sven. That's going to be an easy 2-Rax lead for them minimum. Probably just go top shortly after that. They don't know it, but the Sven doesn't have buyback. If he did, they probably would have taken this fight by now. They do have the deep heals, and they're going to have to make something special happen 4v5.
We'll see if they're going to be able to make it work. You do still have Vengeful Spirit that's about to be up, as well as all the shenanigans that Earth Spirit provides to the world. They go right on in. Are going to pull back. Old 11 immediately taken off with the ultimate. The Ravage is there. The DP ulti, the Omni Slash, the everything. This is about to be GG right here as EHOME clinch it. I believe, at least. You never want to call it too early, but good game gets called by Super. And EHOME are able to take the first one in this best of 2. Blitz, do you feel like this was just sort of the outdraft? Was this something that was always destined to be a win for EHOME?
I think once they won that top lane, when they forced 3 heroes there with just 2, being able to win that, and then they forced the rotation from the DP, they were able to get the Jug in there. They took that fight really efficiently. They killed so many different heroes. Then you broke up the timing of iG.V really well, and the Batrider just was never able to get online because it's a Batrider against an Oracle. That's already one of those matchup wins. The Sven, they were able to make 1 or 2 fights happen around his large charge BKB, but at some point it was kind of just one of those scenarios where if EHOME get any sort of great initiation off, it was going to be kind of just a lost game.
Yeah, it felt to me like there was just those moments where it was rolling through and doing everything that they needed to, and they're able to take it. Again, a huge series for both teams. Ostensibly, if EHOME win this next one, they're going to be the top of the group, and I mean, it's great for EHOME fans. I was a little bit not sure how well they were going to perform in this because of their performance in like other Chinese scenes, but obviously in lands they've shown up pretty effectively and proven that they deserve it right now. Sorry again about any audio issues that we ended up having at the start of it. It's all Zyori and Winter, I promise. They were in the room before us. Any final thoughts before we end up moving on here? Blitz Dota.
Just kind of hope that EHOME shore up some of these issues because we're probably being a little. I don't think I'm being nitpicky because this is their opportunity to go to TI or not TI but Manila, and that's a big opportunity because if you show up in Manila, then you get an opportunity at TI. It's one of these chain reaction teams. The rich get richer. You don't want to be in a situation where you don't get invited to Manila or you don't get into Manila, then you have to play all of these random games. If you don't do well there, then you have to go through the qualifiers again for TI, and all of these qualifiers, every single one of them are stacked. They are difficult to play through, especially with just one team getting through. Like,
Jeez.
Don't mess around, eHome.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys so much again for tuning in. We're going to be back in just a second with game number 2 here. eHOME facing off against iG.V. Blitz, Lyrical. We'll see you in a second.